That's right. There's a party in heaven, and I'm joining. I hope y'all know y'all joined in this party. Huh? Y'all ready to join that party? That's right. There's a party in heaven, and we're joining it, right? And it's going to sound a little something like this, right? We're going to be singing. We're going to be rejoicing. We're going to be praising. The angels going to be singing. Huh? Let me show y'all, brothers and sisters. It might sound a little bit like this. You might have to boost her up a little bit. If you know the Most High is your all in all, if you know a high is everything to you, you ought to give the Most High some praise. A higher is my all in all. He's everything to us. I'm going to tell you. Yeah, let's do it. What y'all know about this? dear son Yeshua. We can do better than that, brothers and sisters. Come on now. Yes. As we not just lift them up here, but we lift them up worldwide. Brothers and sisters, now is the time. We must all turn our hearts and minds of full attention to the word of the Almighty. Brothers and sisters, when you think of Purim, you think about how thankful we should be, brothers and sisters. Thankful we are to have this church, to have this truth, and for the Most High to reveal his word in this understanding to us. So brothers and sisters, now is the time where it's time to tune in, get your notepads, your pencils out, your Bibles out, because now is the word of the Almighty. Brothers and sisters, it's with my distinguished pleasure to introduce you our elders of the Gathering of Christ Church, Elder Rakashiar and Elder Lawyer. Let's give them a hearty round of applause. Not just here, but throughout the four quarters of the earth. All praises.
Shalom. Yeah, can you cut this up a little bit? Yeah, if somebody can cut this up. Yeah, it's a little too low here. Shalom, happy Purim. Happy Purim. Hey, Lawyer, if you can put this over there, I wanted you to be able to use this over that side. You can, matter of fact, you can just put that over there, and you can put your Bible right here. It's good. Shalom, how are you? Did the Most High bring out the sun or what? How many of you out there, right? Somebody need to center that camera there. That camera isn't centered. Yeah. Can you center that for me? Yeah, you can center it for me. Let Lamop do it. He'll do it. Yeah. Thank you, Bishop. How many of you got the notice first that there may be a delay until tomorrow? Right? Man, we must have prayed hard because 30 minutes later, a new response came when I seen that sun go boom. Praise to the Most High. Some people ask, Purim, what is it? Right? Thank you, Bishop. They ask, what is it? Is it a Sabbath? Is it a, what is it? So technically, it's not a Sabbath, right? It's a memorial where the Most High told us to remember what happened to our brothers and sisters who was in provinces within the Iranian country of Persia. And he says, don't forget Esther. It was through this sister, our people, and a lot of our people are still there in that same area till this day, were spared. And the Most High got the glory, and he made sure, he told the Israelites, make sure you remember this and give gifts one to another. On that day, that celebration when the enemy of the Most High was judged, a resounding cheer went out of Iran. Esther, the queen. Esther, the Israelite. Mordecai, the prophet. Right? So, why did the Most High tell us to remember this? Now, you notice every holy day or memorial that the Most High has established in the earth for remembrance, the powers that be has a holy day in close proximity. You notice that? We can't have a Passover unless there's an Easter close by, right? We can't have a Hanukkah or Feast of Lights unless there's Christmas in proximity. We can't have, understand, we cannot have a Purim, a day of giving gifts, unless there's Valentine's Day. Most people don't even understand why these days are so close in proximity. Right? It's the power of this world seeking to steal the praise and glory that should go to the God who have given us this bountiful and beautiful earth. And what he does, knowing that there's a certain vibration that comes from the heavens into this earth, the enemies do a holy day close in proximity to take that spirit or to intervene or get in the way of that connection between us and the Most High. And instead of us giving glory to the Most High on the holy day, all of that energy is spent on what? Vanity. Vanity, instead of giving the glory to the Almighty on this day. Now, what does this particular memorial have to do with what we're dealing with real time? Right? I'm going to go into that. If we forget what happened during the time of Purim, we would fail to prepare for what our people are under now. So what I'm hoping to do today through the Spirit of the Most High is bring a biblical, almost illustration to parallel what happened back there to what's going on right now. The only difference is that back then we understood biblically who the enemy was on the other side attacking us. And we also understood that we were the people of Israel under attack. So how do we quantify that today? Right? Somebody take this thing. This thing is just in the way for no reason. Thank you. All right. I appreciate you, Bishop. We good? So when we go back to Persia, there was a scenario with a man by the name of Haman the Agagite. This is all political. It's policy. Haman the Agagite, right? He was an Edomite. An Edomite living in those particular parts of Macedonia, the same areas Alexander would come out of. And what he did was, once he got a high political position amongst the kings of Persia, he set a strategy to get rid of the children of Israel living in Persia, living in Iran. He had a strategy. And I need you brothers and sisters to understand how close we are today under the same strategy. And if it be the Spirit of the Most High, I'll be able to lay it out so that all can understand. Let me tell you, the attack our people are under. Now today, make sure, brothers and sisters out there, even in the world, make sure you get your pens and your pads ready. Overcoming the devil's plan to destroy or to depopulate God's people. When we hear of Amalek in the scriptures, if you may, Elder Lawyer, let's go into how the Most High told us to remember Amalek. Chapter and verse.
Yes, sir. This is Exodus chapter 17, verse number 13.
Exodus 17, verse 13. This is our people coming out of Egypt. Read.
And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword.
Come on.
And the Lord said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book.
Write this for a memorial in a book. We're reading that book today, the book of Exodus, the Bible. Read.
And rehearse it in the ears of Joshua.
Come on.
For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven.
I will what?
I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven.
I will utterly put out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. So this is a nation, or what you would call a family of Esau, not all of Esau. The head of Esau, who's blotted out of the book of life. What did Amalek do? Read it.
Verse 8. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel.
Fought with Israel during the Exodus. Come on.
In Rephidim.
And did what? Come on.
And Moses said unto Joshua, choose us out men and go out and fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in mine hand.
So the Most High put his power in the elders and the warriors of Israel to face this enemy. Now understand real quick what Amalek was doing. Amalek would follow the caravan during the Exodus. And instead of rivaling the men in the front of the camp leading each tribe, we noticed as the travel began around the areas Esau was, that people in the back was coming up missing. They would jump out or come in the back with the elderly, the children, and where the women were, and grab and kill people. Now imagine you marching in front, the men, and someone is grabbing your wife in the back, and you look up one night, she's gone. Like, where's my wife? Grabbing children, elderly. And you have to realize they target the weak, so to destabilize the nation. That's one of Amalek's strategies. When something happens, they will do what? They would alarm the world and start saying things like, we need to make sure we take care of the elderly first. They're the most susceptible to what's going on. So we must first deal with the elderly. And then what you see? Instead of getting in front of things, and these same elderly that we thought they were helping begin to die. Then they say, well, now we need to go to the next demographic. Pregnant women. And then once we get used to that, then they'll say, well, now let's get the children. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? That's an Amalek strategy. Today you're going to find out in the Bible who Amalek is, and also the fact that they're telling everyone in the earth today, if you're watching the news, who they are. Right? And what people they're seeking to depopulate. The same people of Israel that what? Haman the Agagite sought to destroy in Persia. Now, Elder Lawyer, go to Exodus 3. Now, before you go there, Elder, real quick, I pulled something up on that computer for you, Elder Lawyer, from the Jewish Encyclopedia. when you go to the Jewish encyclopedia, in rabbinical literature, it tells us something about this Haman the Agagite, some generations later from the time the Most High said, remember Amalek. Right? Now, real quick, Elder Lawyer, if you will. Oh, let me put up here so they can see it here.
Yes, sir.
I need you to go, Elder Lawyer, where it says, in rabbinical literature, Haman.
Yes, sir. Haman is identified by the Talmudists with Memucan, the last of the 7 princes which saw the king's face,
Come on.
giving to Memucan the signification of prepared for punishment. Haman was a direct descendant of Agag in the 16th generation and consequently an Amalekite.
He was what?
Haman was a direct descendant
He was a direct descendant
of Agag
in
in the 16th century and consequently an Amalekite.
and consequently an Amalekite. Right? So it's telling you they know that he was Amalek, an Edomite. Now, y'all can't see this. Y'all will probably be able to see it when you get home. I just want to get through this real quick. I want to show you all something. I'm going to just go over it here, and you all can see it at home. Right? Let me pull it up here. This is insane. I didn't even show this to lawyer yet. Jerusalem Post in Israel. This is March 19, 2022 when this article came out. It states in the Post, the Amalek dilemma. Ukraine, Israel, and Purim opinion. In the article, there's a Jewish man standing and praying before a candlestick, right? But then it goes down and begin to show how the Amalek conspiracy was to wipe out the children of Israel, right? And they're relating that to themselves. But here's the deep thing about it. They said that they know for sure in this article that Amalek is Eastern European. In the article. And they're pointing to Russia and other Edomite countries as Amalekites. Right? The Amalek dilemma, Ukraine, Israel, and Purim. Amalek has become the paradigm of the genocidal enemy of the, as they say, Jewish people or the Jewish nation. The Torah instructs us to not forget the cowardly attack perpetrated by Amalek after the Israelites' exodus. See, we believe in Christ. We are about forgiveness. But they're reminded every day not to forget their past, or whom they believe are their past ancient enemies. See, they don't believe in forgiveness according to Christ. They believe in Torah, eye for an eye. But what they did in the article was point out who Amalek is. Eastern Europeans. Now, it's interesting that they say that Amalek in this article are the likes of Russians, right? They give a few things down here throughout history to say anyone of Eastern European who have oppressed Jewish people were Amalek. But I got them. Because I'm looking at an Eastern European by the name of Vladimir Zelensky signing a treaty in Israel at the wall with Jewish people. Right? Now I'm going to show you how I'm going to tie this together. Right? They celebrate Purim. They say, never forget our enemy. But yet, listen to me clearly. There's history to show that the people we have here in front of you, those who are seeing this, have been identified by their own people as Amalek. Now, what does that mean for us? We're saying that we're the children of Israel. We know we're the children of Israel. We're saying that the nations have always had a plan to depopulate us. What better way to hide your true intentions against the people? What better way than to hide and live in those people's identity? While the people of Israel suffer in the earth with no understanding that you are under attack. Right? So I'm going to go through this real quick. It's going to be real quick. It's not going to be long at all, I promise you. But then we're going to quantify this, and then we're going to go into what does this depopulation and all of that means for us. How do we make it through? A lot of you brothers and sisters, you've endured so much in this work. You have endured many shakings. You have endured the world pulling on you, only to get to this point. And what I'm going to encourage you brothers and sisters to do, even after tonight, after you hear this lesson, is to stand your ground. Watch what I'm about to show you here. Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, let's go to the book of Esther. The book of Esther, follow us here. Did he bring the coffee yet? Hold on. The book of Esther, I'm talking, yeah, thank you. Right? I'm going to pull it up here so they can see it here. The book of Esther, the 3rd chapter, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. The book of Esther, chapter 3, verse number 1.
Okay. Hold on, let me get it with you here.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, you can read it, come on.
Esther 3 and 1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
Read it again.
After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite.
The Agagite. So this is not a Persian or an Iranian. He's from the lines of King Agag, the man the Most High told who? Told our first king Saul to get rid of. He says, if you don't get rid of this man, this son of Edom, he will continually throughout generations antagonize and destroy my people. That would be his only intent. Here it is, 16 generations down the line, one of those sons is living in the areas of Macedonia. He made his way into the political council of King Ahasuerus, who would today would be an Iranian. Read.
After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
Come on.
And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him.
Read.
But Mordecai bowed not.
But our prophet Mordecai bowed not. Right? No, we serve the living God, the true and only God of Israel. We bow to no man, we bow to no idol. Read.
But Mordecai bowed not, nor did reverence him.
Come on.
Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, Why transgressest thou the king's commandment?
Come on.
Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew.
He told them, I can't do this because I'm a Jew. I'm an Israelite. Now, mind you, that's a broad term. All in all, he's saying that I'm an Israelite. Okay? Mordecai wasn't Jewish. Mordecai was an Israelite. There's a difference. Okay? Jewish is one who can convert into following the Torah and or can follow a religion called Judaism. An Israelite is an Israelite whether he follow Judaism, Christianity, Islam, because being an Israelite isn't the religion you follow. It's the fact that you come from one of the 12 sons of Israel. That's a clear, distinct difference. A clear, distinct difference. So when it says he was a Jew, most would read this and believe that he was Jewish. No. He was from one of the tribes of Judea. Okay. Read.
Verse 5. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
He was full of wrath. You know why he was full of wrath? Now, the king didn't have a problem until Amalek told him it was a problem. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm going to have a respect for, quote unquote, your beliefs and religion. Mordecai and the Israelites were always following our Torah. That wasn't anything new. It wasn't a problem until Esau came in to draft policy that would make it seem as if we were seeking to disrespect the practices or the religious practices in Iran. Mm-hmm. So he brought up this as an issue, right? Now understand, folks, what we're talking about today is policy. This is happening amongst what? A council, as if this is Senate, Congress. You're sitting amongst the president, and these things are getting discussed, right? Read.
Verse 6. And they thought to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews.
Then he said, you know what? We're not just going to get rid of him. We're going to get rid of all of them. That was his plan from the beginning, knowing that Mordecai wouldn't bow. Right? So he came up with an instance publicly in which Ahasuerus, the king, would feel disrespected. He brought up something that he knew our people couldn't comply to in order to come with what? The conspiracy that he needed to destroy a people. Right? Come on.
Yes, sir. Wherefore Haman sought to... Verse 8.
Come on.
And Haman said unto the king Ahasuerus, There is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in the provinces of thy kingdom.
Come on.
And their laws are diverse from all people, neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore it is not the king's profit to suffer them.
It says, There's a people here that's dispersed amongst your people who's keeping their laws instead of your laws. Right? It is not for the king's profit to suffer them. So now he's putting what? He's whispering negative to the king, knowing it could mean many lives lost. He says, how does that profit you long term? Right? Suppose they begin to convince your people that their God is the true God. Eventually, this can divide your kingdom. See? When that wasn't our wish at all. Our wish was to do what? Coexist under our cultures, our laws, right? Without interference. Right? Read.
Verse 9.
Come on.
If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasuries.
He says, let me tell you, you don't have to worry about it. Listen to this clearly now. I'll take care of things. Bring some silver and gold into the treasury, and I'll pay an army. I will pay mercenaries to wipe out these people. Give me access to the treasury, and I'll have mercenaries, listen, who'll come in and do the job. See? So now the king is what? He can now have plausible deniability because it's in the hand of Haman's policy. Right? He can say, well, listen, this was just the law. This guy came up with it. Right? So listen to this clearly, folks. I need y'all to check this out. He says what? He says, give me access to the money, and I'll distribute the money amongst the enemies of these people, and they'll come in to move them out of the way. Are y'all checking this out? First of all, they had to do what? They had to open a census to find out just how many people were scattered amongst the Persians, so that they'll know exactly how much resources they would need to do the job. Folks, you can't make this up. What was going on while everyone was looking, and I seen it too, the Super Bowl? Okay? What was going on? Folks, you have to watch anytime there's a big event. That's when the government can draft policy against its citizens right up under your noses without pushback. Right? Without any oversight from the citizens. Folks, even during the OJ trial, they needed to drag that out. During the OJ trial, there's a lot of things they wanted to put in place, right? Federal money going into privatized schools at that time, where it makes it where schools would get paid or funded based off of how many children is actually vaccinated. Did y'all know that was happening during the trial? During the trial of OJ? Look up the same year. Truancy. To make sure that if children weren't going to school, that the parents can be arrested. So why did they want us in school? Because that's right, federal funding came in, and it was no longer the schools we were raised under. They can now pass policy to indoctrinate and do certain things that we would normally push back at, being what? Primarily Bible-believing people. So now, Super Bowl. What did they pass, folks, while everyone were asleep? I need y'all to check this out. Let me pull it up here. Oh, man, oh, my goodness. And don't forget, Amalek, according to them, is Eastern Europeans. While everyone was asleep, I'm going to pull it up so they can see it here. While everyone was looking at the Super Bowl, right? I need y'all to check this out. U.S. Senate passes $95 billion military aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan after rare all-night session. They got everybody caught up talking about the game, but they were cooking this up the whole time. And guess what? It just passed. $95 billion in military aid. Now, how do you know that this is bogus? Okay. Ukraine already lost the war. It's over. But they're still getting funded. The money goes into what? The defense. America's Defense Department. And by the time they would build weaponry to give to Ukraine, it would be 7 years from now. And how can that help in a war now? So where are these finances getting distributed and why? Here's another thing. Now I'm going to show you how deep this is. Because if you approve such a large amount at one time, they have to print the money, which does what? That's right, folks, add to the debt. The debt adds to the inflation. The inflation transfers to all your products exponentially going up, pressing the citizens. And then you still don't know where the money went, right? Now check this out. One other thing. Speaking of how Haman the Agagite had to do what? He had to get access to a treasury in order to indirectly get mercenaries to attack and destroy God's people in Persia. Brothers and sisters, for the last 10 years, Martin Luther King was talking about this well beforehand, but this thing really have taken steam within the last 10 years. What have our people, especially in America, black people, Judites, what have we been stomping politically for? Huh? Let me hear it. Say that again. Reparations, right? I'm going to show you how they're straight disrespecting and insulting our people. The reparation conversation would never come up unless it was our people talking about it, right? Reuters. Check this out. You can't make this up. Breaking news. Reuters. Reparation bonds could unlock $300 billion for the Ukraine. Who did something to them? Reparations. So I'm going to tell you, this is what Amalek is doing. You can't make this up. This is the same playbook of Haman the Agagite during the 5th century BC. Same playbook. Give me the treasury and I'll get the mercenaries to attack the people. Right? 300 billion also just went not too long ago, when you add up the money, to the so-called migrants. But are they migrants or mercenaries? Think about it. I'm tying it together for you now. New York Post. Group of newly arrived migrants allegedly behind string of burglaries plaguing Chicago suburbs. They're in the city snatching, robbing, stealing. Above the law. Now, what they're not telling us is indirectly, folks, these people know their jobs, what their jobs, or let's put it better, in a better term, a better word, they know their mission coming in. And I'm going to read the mission because Amalek, what? Never plays from a different book. Why? The reason why he doesn't have to play from a different book, because why? It usually works. Everything they roll out, our people usually lap it up and accept it. They started counting people. They started asking, well, how many people? Don't forget, the same time during the pandemic, there was a census. Remember that? You want to know how many people is in a respective city? Oh, yeah, we do the census so we'll know exactly how many resources or how much money we need to allocate to the population. When have you ever seen them come into our neighborhoods to change our status? Ever, right? They took the census. You would have thought that, okay, we have enough resources to help these people. No. They're putting our people outdoors. Right? So now we're going to go through it real quick. Let's read it, Elder Lawyer. And here's the plan. Secretly, what they're doing is moving around money that will indirectly have mercenaries under some level affect the children of Israel in the earth. That's what they're doing. They're strategically placing these people where crime already is overrunning the areas. Now, they can just now come in conveniently and attack and cause criminality. And by default, when we respond, there you go. They can blame us, the target. Right? So let's go through it real quick, Elder Lawyer. We're going to read right through it. Verse?
Yes, sir. Verse 9.
Come on.
If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed.
Right? Okay, that's yours right there.
Okay, the water.
Go ahead.
And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasuries.
To bring it into the king's treasuries. Don't worry about it. We'll get the money. Guess what? We'll fund the destruction of God's people. But we're going to do it in a way in which it's policy. See? See, if they do it through policy, you don't know you're indirectly being destroyed. Folks, let me ask you a question. Just to ask you a question. And I'm just going to put this out there. I'm going to talk about this Friday, actually. I'm going to ask you all and be honest. Matter of fact, let me do it this way. How many of you never heard of the formula SV40? Raise your hands. SV40. It's a shame. Because there's a good chance, based on a lot of campaigns that's going on, that a lot of our people are walking around with SV40 in their bodies right now. It's a shame you don't know what it is. But if we get an opportunity, look it up. How could they administer SV40 that's connected to a lot of things, including fast track sicknesses and all that? But I'm going to talk about that Friday. SV40. Right? Henrietta Lacks. When you hear about Henrietta Lacks, she had this fast track stuff that was really, really deep, and they say we need her for science. And we're able to develop that fast track, destructive stuff. They had to study her because she had a different type of, I'm not going to say the word. It was so fast track, they needed to use her for science. They told us we needed to study this so that we can beat it. Well, suppose you can study it and replicate it. And if you replicate it, you can replicate it and then find a way to administer it. I'm trying to be veiled with this, but I'm showing you how Haman the Agagites and how Amalek get down. Okay? Read.
Verse 10.
Come on.
And the king took the ring from off his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
Read.
And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee.
So he gave Haman the authority. So obviously Haman convinced the king that this would be good policy. This would be, he set the stage for what? For a place of disrespect publicly. You know, this was probably at a ball, the king's with all his friends and all that, and Haman thought of a strategy that would move the king against our people. He knew Mordecai wasn't going to bow to the king or God. So he set the stage so that he can now whisper and come with policy to destroy his enemy. Now, guess what, folks? Our people are living every day, minding our business. We're not even thinking about Haman or the king. We're just trying to live our lives. While they're drafting policy to use a treasury in order to depopulate. We're just trying to live our lives and serve our God and have no ill feelings against the king. Think about that. So we're thinking, because why am I posing it this way? Because a lot of us think, well, I'm a good person. I'm not doing anything. I'm just trying to live my life and survive here. Why would people strategize and continually seek to harm me? See, and this is why I wanted to use this example. Folks, and I say it over and over again, they know what we become. Without resistance, they know the prophecy of Jacob rising while Esau falls. So we're sitting here just having a good time or just struggling in this earth saying, well, what? These bad people, are they going to do this because I'm black? Hold up. It don't have nothing to do with you being brown. The Iranians were brown. Okay? The Iranians were brown. Read.
Yes, sir. Verse number 12.
Come on.
Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month.
Come on.
And there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province.
Come on.
According to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, in the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring.
Come on.
And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old.
Look at that.
Little children and women.
Look at that.
In one day.
The same plan of the Amalekites during the Exodus executed from what? From a political office in Iran. How many of you believe that policy like this is ancient? That governments don't think like this anymore? How many of you believe that? Okay. Drafting policy where obviously it's systematic and we downplay it and dismiss it with the word racism. And this is a word they would like us to continually use because they can come back and say, well, you're racist. No, you're racist. You're racist, without getting to the bottom of what this battle is really about. Right. The spiritual implication of this. If we, on the surface, just call it racist, we downplay what's really going on in the earth between Jacob and Esau. Between this world and God's world. See? So we downplay it and say, oh, well, he's doing it because I'm black. No, it's deeper than that. This is spiritual. Mm-hmm. This is prophetic. And I'm saying this so that we can navigate through this. I'm not saying this so that we could fear, because we fear no one but God alone. Let's make that clear. So I'm not putting out there like we got some big boogeyman that's seeking to attack us that we should be afraid of. Knowing is half the battle. I'm here to let you know that we have been continually under this same policy. And the only way to navigate through it is to not comply to evil policy. Okay, to destructive policy. Okay? We cannot live in a free world where someone can determine how we should raise our children and what's better for our children. How can they tell us what's better for our children? No. This is what they wanted to do during the time of Persia. Well, you got to do this. That's what responsible parents does. Well, no. If you're a responsible parent, you take care of your kids. Don't worry about what we're doing. Okay, our children are naturalists. Okay? They live with the herbs and all that God has provided from the beginning to keep our forefathers alive. If you believe that you're a responsible parent, listening to the state when it comes to your child, well, that's your business. That's your business. Folks, I got to move past this because we got to eat, right? But let me tell you something. And we got gifts to give out, right? You have to be there this Friday on Patreon when you find out what's in the people. And it's so eerie. It's so eerie, folks. I'm going to tell you. Because it was what we were suspecting while all of that was going down, that they were changing our people into something else who decided to listen. There's scientific proof that the people complied to a lot of this stuff have been turned into something else. They're not the same genetics. That's why when you talk to people, they're different. That's why there's no logical answer when you're in a logical conversation with these people. They have changed the people. And guess what? The science and data is out. I'm going to talk about that this coming Friday. But finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. 13.
Come on.
And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces.
Come on.
To destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women in one day.
Come on.
Even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey.
That means what? When it says take the spoil for prey, take all their resources. Take all their resources. Now, what happens if they move you into a corner and then and the corporations bring in all the people from outside the countries, all these strangers, incentivize them to take all the jobs we need to survive? Folks, that's indirectly taking the spoils. That's indirectly taking the spoils. Because it leaves us with no what? No option but to wait and die while getting attacked at the same time. Listen to what I'm showing you. Read.
Yes, sir. 14.
Come on.
The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given into every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed.
Now listen to this. So now we can put it real time, parallel ancient times to today, and realize that migrant stuff, throw it out of the window. That asylum stuff, throw it out of the window. What we're reading is what it is. What we're reading is what it is. I'm going to tell you. Read the 4th chapter. Let's go.
Chapter 4, verse 1. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry.
Look at that. The prophet knew what this policy would mean for his people. Now, this is a true leader. You see the leaders in our communities that they put as leaders before us. Black-faced mayors, right? Pundits on TV who you think is for you, right? The Joy Reid, who's been an enemy of our people for so long. And the others. We got the mayor of Chicago, the mayor of New York, who's capitulating. When the prophets at this time understood what this policy meant for his people in the provinces, that our people had no idea that there was a plan to depopulate them. Read.
Verse 2. And came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hatak, one of the king's chamberlains, who had been appointed to attend her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and why it was.
And why it was. Now, she's the niece of the prophet. And she's hearing what's going on as queen, married to Ahasuerus, right? Now, check this out. Now, look how the Most High played this, right? He had a beautiful sister in position at the right time. And if it wasn't for this sister, they would have destroyed all, they would have killed men, women, and children all in Persia. Right? Come on.
Verse 6. So Hatak went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that happened unto him, and of the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries for the Jews to destroy them.
Now, we all know how it goes. Our people are now alarmed. We're not bothering anybody while you pushing up on us. And now there's what? There's soundings in the street that there's a war impending against our people. And here it is, Sister Esther, the queen feels what? There's nothing she can do to save her people. Now, normally a sellout would be like, well, listen, I'm the queen. I'm in a position already, right? There's other people out there. I got to fend for myself. That's what the leaders are doing in position today when it comes to our people. You think they don't hear the destructive policy that's being drafted right now to destroy our people? You think they weren't in the rooms when they was all talking about the whole world got a cold and we need to give it to the black people first? Right? You think they weren't in the room saying, well, I have an idea of how to do it. Let's give out vouchers for chicken. It was our people giving the advice on how to get our people into it. Let's give out Popeye chicken sample coupons. Who you think was saying that? Oh, let's get the rappers. Vax that thing up. Read on.
Verse 7. And Mordecai told him of all that happened unto him.
Let's go to the 5th chapter now.
Yes,
Let's go
sir.
straight to it.
Chapter
because
5.
Now Esther has to throw on that apparel. And I know, hey, brothers and sisters, I know y'all, even the sisters, y'all got some beautiful apparel on tonight. It pales in comparison to what Esther threw on. In lieu of all what was going on with the people, she knew exactly what to put on. So she was like, well, how am I going to help save my people? He's the king, I'm the queen. He's totally convinced, hell-bent on killing my people. 5:1, read it.
Yes, sir. Chapter 5, verse 1. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house.
Read.
And it was so when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court that she obtained favor in his sight.
She obtained favor in his sight. You see how eloquently put these scriptures are? You know, she obtained favor in his sight. Right? Yes, yeah. He was like, yeah. I don't know what you got on, but I find favor in my sight. Okay. Right? Come on.
Yes, sir. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand.
Come on.
So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter.
So you know she was walking with grace. She put out her hand. She probably had a veil and a scarf off her hand and put her hand on the top of his scepter, his staff. Just right. Come on.
3. Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther? And what is thy request?
You look like, you definitely look like, you put on, you want something. Right? You want something. And guess what? Whatever you ask for, you gonna get. Okay? What is your request? Right? You must want something in that dress, right? Read.
It shall be given thee to the half of the kingdom.
He says, ask anything. It will be given thee to the half of the kingdom. Mm-hmm. Now think about all of Iran. She just have one little issue she can solve. That night she could have gotten anything out of the king. Read.
Verse 4. And Esther answered, If it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I prepared for him.
Invite him to a banquet that I prepared for him, my king. Read.
Then the king said, Cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther have said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared.
That Esther had prepared. Now, mind you, for those who don't know, Haman the Agagite is an Edomite, right? From the sons of Amalek and from the king line of King Agag, right? An Edomite. Read.
6.
Tell them to come. I got a party. Tell them to come to the party. Okay. You know, she was showing off. Let's read it.
Verse 6.
Come on.
And the king said unto Esther, At the banquet of wine, what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed.
Read 7.
Then answered Esther and said, My petition and my request is, if I found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king have said.
9.
Then went Haman forth that day joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai.
Come on.
Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called his friends and Zeresh his wife. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and of all the things wherein the king had promoted him.
Come on.
And how he had advanced above the princes and servants of the king.
Read.
And Haman said, Yea, Esther the queen did not let no
It says Haman said, moreover, yes, go ahead.
Yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared but myself.
Come on.
And tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king. Yet all this availeth me nothing, so as long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate.
Now let's go straight to the 7th chapter when Haman comes to the banquet. 7th chapter. You got it?
Chapter 7, yes, sir. Chapter 7, verse 1.
So the king, come on.
So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the 2nd day at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition, Queen Esther?
What would you like, my wife? Come on.
And it shall, and if you don't mind, let me just go back and read that very quickly. I think this is a very key point. I'm going to read it again, and you can expound upon
Let's
it
do
in
it.
chapter 5.
5 what?
Chapter 5, I'll start at verse number 11.
Come on, 5 and 11, let's read it.
Yes, sir. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and in all the things that the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and the servants of the king. Haman said, Moreover, yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared but myself. And tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king. Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate.
Boy, I'm glad you slowed me up with that one. Because think about this. He was advanced above everyone in the kingdom and had everything he wanted. Mm-hmm. And none of that meant nothing to him seeing Mordecai living. He would rather sacrifice all of his glory and power than to have the prophet live. Now check out how evil and wicked Haman must have been. Had a decree to kill the people, then he said, I've been blessed with everything in the kingdom, but all of this is nothing compared to me having a deal with this prophet in my sight. And folks, this is how a lot of them in position are today. You would think they would be content with everything the Most High have given them in the world, right? Riches, power, status. But then they'll come see a poor man teaching the word of God, folks, on the street and all of that, and have serious hatred towards that person. Because it's something deeper than riches. Something deeper than all of that, folks. Let's go back to where we were, Elder Lawyer. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yes, sir. Chapter 7, verse number 1.
Come on.
So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen.
Come on.
And the king said again unto Esther the second day at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition, Queen Esther?
Read.
And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request?
What is thy request? Come on.
And it shall be performed even to the half of the kingdom. Then Esther the queen answered and said, If I found favor in thy sight, O king, if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish.
There's policy out there that means destruction to my people. Read.
But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage.
Come on.
Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, Who is he, and where is he, that durst presume in his heart to do so?
Come on.
And Esther said, The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman.
Is this wicked Haman? Now that's the last thing Haman thought was going down at this banquet. So imagine Esther saying this at the banquet table, and everyone now is looking at Haman. I don't know if y'all seen the Game of Thrones when Littlefinger realized that would be his last scene on the Game of Thrones. Everybody's looking at Haman now. I mean, everybody looking, and you know, read on.
Verse 6. And Esther said, The adversary and the enemy is this wicked Haman.
Come
then
on.
Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
Come on.
And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen.
Come on.
For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king.
Come on.
Then the king returned out of the palace of the garden into the place of the banquet of wine. And Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was.
Come on.
Then said the king, Will he force the queen also before me in the house? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face.
Verse
9.
So here it is. They covered his face. They gagged him. Let's go.
Then Harbonah, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, Behold also, the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, Hang him thereon.
And the king said, Did what?
Hang him thereon.
Hang him thereon. Hang him. Now, folks, it wasn't just him, his sons too, and everyone, all of his assistants, anyone who was amongst Haman was hung that day. Right? Now, understand, folks, I keep on telling you, we're those who believe in Christ, forgiveness. We believe in what? To forgive our fellow man. Those who follow in Torah and don't believe in Christ have no such understanding of the word. Payback is a part of their law. And it's actually emphasized. It's emphasized on a whole nother level when you compile their belief in the Torah with the Talmud, in which they can justify payback. So understand, when they read this, they're not seeing what we're seeing, some feel-good story where the Most High delivered our people. Amongst their circles, folks, They're more so viewing this from the fact that they almost had us. And here it is, because of this woman, our forefathers were hung. See? We forgot who we were or who we are. They didn't lose the history on who we are and who we were. So when they read this, they're looking at what? More reason for payback. So now let's get back into the story. Come on.
Verse 10.
Come on.
So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
Exactly, because don't forget, he wanted more. He had a plan to have Mordecai beheaded. The gallows were already set to kill the prophets, not realizing Haman set his own trap. Chapter and verse.
Yes, sir. Chapter 8.
Chapter 8, let's go.
Chapter 8, verse 1. On that day did King Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen.
Come on.
And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman.
Now, here it is. You have a prophet over the policy for our people. I'm just showing you this from a political viewpoint. The reason why we don't see things like we should according to the Bible is because somehow America have taught us something, some type of Jedi mind trick, that there is a separation between church and state. It's because of that our people don't even realize you're sleeping when you even believe there's a separation. Policy is drafted from the top, which affects the church, which affects those who believe in God, which affects the children of Israel. So by them having us believe, oh yeah, that's just the world policy. Well, what if the world policy is conspiring against you? And unless you understand you are an Israelite according to the Bible, you'll never understand that they've always drafted policy against our people. Right? So let's get to the gifts. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Verse 3. And
Somebody
Esther
get that baby. Who baby's that? Lord have mercy. Verse. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. Verse 3. And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite.
Come on.
And his device that he had devised against the Jews.
Come on.
Then the king held out the golden scepter toward Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king.
Come on.
And said, if it please the king, and if I found favor in his sight, and the thing seem right before the king, and I be pleasant in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman the son of Ammedatha the Agagite.
Come on.
Which he wrote to destroy the Jews which are in all the king's provinces.
Come on.
For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people? Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred?
Come on.
Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen, and to Mordecai the Jew, behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him that have hanged upon and they have hanged him upon the gallows.
Oh yeah, folks. Do you know that this particular story is also written in Iranian's history? You can even go online and see this particular story is in the annals and history of Iran. So you can't say that it's just a biblical story. This actually happened. These are political moves where they're placing prophets in high positions of policy for our people. Read.
Yes, sir, the middle of verse 7.
Yes.
I have given Esther the house of Haman, and they have hanged him upon the gallows, because he laid his hands upon the Jews.
Come on.
Write ye also for the Jews as it liketh you in the king's name.
Come on.
And seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name and sealed with the king's ring may no man reverse.
Now check this out. Read.
Verse 9.
They were the king's scribes.
Then were the king's scribes called at that time in the 3rd month, that is, the month Sivan, on the 23rd day thereof, and it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants, and to the deputies and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia.
Unto India, even into Ethiopia. You notice these are a lot of the areas that they're actually seeking to attack right now, and eastern parts of Africa and all of that. Folks, it was a decree to get rid of us from all of these areas that were under paying tribute unto the Persians. So it just wasn't Iran. It extended all the way into where our people went in India, Ethiopia, and different parts. He was seeking to destroy all of our people all at once. And when you see these wars, when they went to the Vietnam War, the American-Mexican War, the war against the North American Indians, the war they have in Yemen right now, all of these wars are really the same war against the same people of the diaspora. It's the same policy. So then the Most High said, make sure we remember this day, so to while we're here. Is it a Sabbath? No, it's a memorial. So not to forget. And if we understand how Amalek plan and plot, we can now stave off their policy against us. Okay? The best way to avoid Amalek's attack is to not comply and to not fall for destructive policy. Anytime you see or hear destructive policy, this is why the Most High gave us a memorial as the reminder. That's why no matter what they roll out, I'm like, listen, the answer is no. Because you have never offered us anything that was what? Actually good for our people. So why do I think you want me at the front of the line now? Why do I believe that you have my best interests at heart when you could care less about us? Here it is, our people have been asking for reparations for how long? And believe it or not, our people, our request for reparations is justified. We built the world you enjoy. So you can give stuff to Israel. You can even give stuff to those over in the Palestinians. You can fund either side. And on top of this, to add insult to injury here on Reuters, for those who missed it, breaking news, reparation bonds could unlock $300 billion for the Ukraine. Why would, out of all the words to use, if they weren't just strictly trying to throw it in our face, why would they use the word reparation? Because they say this is where your reparation going towards, a treasury to destroy you. And even in Israel Post, they tell you that Amalek is Eastern Europeans. And if they say Amalek, in Israeli Post, they say Amalek is Eastern Europeans, right? Then we have to ask, well, isn't the Ukraine in Eastern Europe? Huh? So they're paying resources to come against us. The Amalek dilemma, Ukraine, Israel, Purim opinion, Jerusalem Post. They're saying this is what justified them drafting policy against their enemies, because their enemies are Amalek. And then they point out Eastern European countries that have always defied their advancements. Huh? Let's go straight to the gifts. Let's go today. Let's go straight there. So now Haman is gone, and the Most High says, remember this as a memorial. Let's read it.
Yes, sir. Chapter 9, verse number 18 and 19.
Come on.
In fact, I'll start at 17.
Yes.
Esther 9 and 17.
Come on.
On the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested day, and made it a day of feasting and gladness.
A day of feasting and gladness. Now, in order for them, let me tell you, they knew for years that this 364-day schedule was the true calendar of the Most High. They had to have known. It seems as if every holy day since the Most High gave us that time back, you know it's right on point because they have a holiday or something in close proximity to it. Tomorrow is what? Where you give what? Gifts. See? Come to find out, Valentine was some European freak out there doing all types of evil stuff, and you know he would stalk people, and you know if he fell in love and this woman had a husband, you know I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do. I just caught him outside last night, and here's his heart. That's how much I love you. That's where you get the Valentine heart. This fool was running around killing people. When you look at the story of Valentine, he was another Jack the Ripper. And then they got us every year in pagan land giving away what? Hearts of candy. Celebrating this sycophant. And they try to do that in close proximity to a day we should remember. Right? Come on, let's go.
Verse 18. But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day of the same they rested, and made it a day of joy, of feasting and gladness. Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting.
Come on.
And a good day, and of sending portions one to another.
Sending portions one to another, and we got our gifts that we're going to give the children today. And we will long in memory respect the sacrifice and the strength of Sister Esther. Boy, you know that was a sister behind any shadow of a doubt. But before I go, let me talk about some of what our plans are for this year as we embark on a serious spring and summer, a taxing year, right? The Bible talks, and I was going to go into it, Matthew 25, when y'all get an opportunity, about the 5 wise and the 5 foolish virgins, where the Most High, in the scriptures through the epistle Paul, it gave us an instance of him, it says, giving or presenting us to the Most High in Christ as chaste virgins, coming in with a new life towards the bridegroom Christ, like a virgin would come out of her chambers to a man. Now think about it. When we talk about the bridegroom, when you think of groom, right? Groom. Why is the man called the groom? Because she was given from her father to a man to groom her and fashion that girl into a woman. That's why he's called groom. So being what? A chaste virgin, we are to be shaped in preparation for the bridegroom who is Christ. But then you have 5 what? 5 wise virgins and 5 foolish virgins. And why I wanted to bring that analogy that you can all go back and read it tonight for these initiatives we're talking about is because we had many people who realized and came to the same truth today we are a part of. Folks, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Because the 5 wise continue to do what? Do enough to trim their lamp. To keep what? To keep the strength of that spirit the Most High gave them when the truth was revealed to them. Doing something to trim that lamp and to keep that light on so not to lose the morale and the strength the Most High need us to finish. The 5 foolish virgins had the same truth the wise virgins had. But when what? When the bride came, when Christ came, the foolish already played themselves out. And then they went to the people who stood and say, give me something so that I can get in too. Hold up. You were here before I was. Why weren't you here every step of the way? Why are you here now? To take so that I don't make it into the chamber. And folks, with what we read today, you're going to see a lot of people who's going to come out of the woodwork in the last moment, expecting you to push them through the finish line. And that's not going to be your responsibility. Your responsibility is your house and this community. You're going to say, listen, you got to go back and get your own oil. I only have enough for my family to make it through, unfortunately. We're going to have a new fund, and thanks to all of your support and what you've done with this church, we're able to establish this. We're going to have a new fund. It's going to be a nonprofit fund called the GOCC Empowerment Fund. Let me tell you what this does. Nonprofit finances that will go to church members, right, for initiatives, for food drives, to feed our people and to extend this drive into the communities, right? And especially those who are falling on hard times. We're going to have pantries in churches where if someone needs access to food or something, they can always get food. Put something in, take something out. Pantries to put in and take out. Setting up, and we want to do this. We want to set up a tutors program for people who have teachers and who have experience to help our children. A tutor program with the assistance of a parent co-op, because the parents must be a part of this, right? Right? We're going to try to do that online. Giveaways to help children who are falling behind, education and otherwise, to help them. Some people, some of our women, some of our brothers are struggling and are too proud to say, I don't have enough to get book bags and school supplies or even clothes. Well, this fund would be for that. And guess what? Your integrity will stay intact. No one have to know that the church is helping you. But as long as you receive the help. You understand? Back to school programs, we're going to have grants and different funds for our children to make sure that they have what? A better future in this truth. So that they don't have to struggle to what, they don't have to go through the struggle we went through to get to where we are. It's going to be a GOCC Empowerment Fund. I'm just scratching the surface on what this is, but this will help every church established in the earth. And it's through your support we're able to now give back and become an even stronger community. right? So I hear what people say. They text, they try to put comments out. Oh, y'all get this, and y'all get money, and y'all get this. Folks, and I'll be listening to it. And I says, you know what? It's a shame that people only question or try to go into money when it comes to our people who are trying to help one another. I'm going to tell you, it's a shame. But you know what? I see it, but I don't care. Why? Because they don't know what it takes to build from nothing and to move a nation in the spirit of the Almighty, having faith in Christ. And they also don't realize it's not good business sense to, when you get money, to just give it away. Just because you're getting money doesn't mean it's supposed to get distributed. It's supposed to be a plan, a long-term plan that can help everyone get through. And you can't do it by just taking money and distributing it. Everything must be planned out. Everything must be on the surface, and we must be able to establish something that everyone can be a part of. Understand what I'm saying. This is how it would have to be, because there's so many people. If we were to just put money towards one big initiative that one person had a concern for, then, and we did that throughout the earth, there would be nothing left. And the doors would have to what? The doors would have to close. But we had to get to a point of moving the churches in one spirit together. And on top of that, Christ was shaping the churches for those who could appreciate what this is. And moving things and out the way, obstacles, people, whatever the case might be, so that now we can appreciate and build as a community. And folks, we don't care if it's not a multitude of people. The Most High didn't choose us because we were greater in number than everyone. Okay? He chose us because we were fewer in number. And only a few is going to make it into this kingdom, folks. I'm going to keep on saying, I say it from one Purim to the next. Remember, brothers and sisters, this time. Remember that out of nowhere, through the grace of the Most High, remember the time that he did what? He developed and cultivated in this earth a family. A family out of strangers. None of us knew we would be here today, but the Most High knew that he would do what? Develop a family out of the earth. And understand, what we came into and believing what this is, it's exactly what we thought it was. And guess what? It's even more than what I thought it could be. All graces to the Almighty. Let's grow and navigate through this together. We're going to need each other. Shalom. Kwam Yeshala. Kwam Yeshala. That's right, Israel. Kwam Yeshala. Enjoy the food. Happy Purim. Did I tell y'all how beautiful it looks in here? Oh, praise it.
All praise be to the Most High. Let's give a hand for our elders in a timely lesson. And these beautiful announcements to know what we're looking at in this upcoming year. Like we stated before, it's all hands on deck, right? One may lead one day, One may follow one day, but if we all stick together, we can achieve a common goal. That's what this is about, the family that the Most High have brought together. And today is the day that we appreciate one another, and as the scriptures say, send portions one to another. So we're going to get into that sending portions, right? I got to look in direct. How we doing it? Somebody, we just giving them out? How we going to do it? Yes, sir. There you go. Take a look right here. The beautiful celebration, portions one to another. All right.
We got gifts here?
Yes, we do, Elder.
Okay, well, we got gifts. Tell them, take the mic right over here. Let's do it.
All right, my sister. You wanna present? Okay, yeah. So give us a brief description of what you have here and who it's given to.
Give her the mic.
Yeah, I'm gonna give her the mic right now.
Y'all look nice, too.
Yeah, you got to now. You need to- All right.
Oh my gosh. Shalom, everyone. We just wanted to take the opportunity to thank Bishop and Robin, elders, and the wives for giving us the opportunity to just be able to do this. So initially, Bishop was like, I want Purim to be big. And I was like, okay, I'll help. Initially, it's just, I was thinking small, and then the Most High just started adding. And then, of course, Sister Erica was like, okay, you helping, I'm helping too. So we started thinking like, I work at Neiman Marcus, and I work for Dior, and we get all these boxes and for the holidays. And I was thinking about Purim, and it's white and gold. I was like, that's our colors. So my manager was like, Marie Friends, get rid of these boxes, holiday's over. Bishop said, I want Purim to be big. And I was like, oh, these boxes is for us. So we just took the time, and I asked the managers to just donate stuff for our church, and they gracefully did it. So we just put boxes together for the ladies and the men, and we have stuff for the children. Say it again. Say it again.
No.
What did you say?
I was saying for the kids.
Oh, okay. She said for the children as well. Don't just put me out here. So we're going to pass them out. We have the blue ribbons is for the men, and the black ones, and the white and gold for the ladies. And we have the other three ones. It's a little distinction for, some of the wives are not. And we have the ones for the children as well. But we're gonna pass out the one for the adults and the children. But I'm just gonna start from here. We're gonna need some help. Maybe can we get 2 more sisters? Just to make it a little easier. Oh, hi, Princess. Okay. Oh, and Dior will help. This is my son Dior. Say hi.
So we're going to distribute these gifts, brothers and sisters, right in an orderly fashion. We got gifts, hopefully, for everybody up in here. Everybody will be able to leave with something. All the children, they already know this is way better than anything that the world represents in December 25th in a lie. So this is our day to celebrate. So we're going to give these gifts and distribute them out. We're going to pray over the food. And then we got some music, right? Is that okay? That's all right? All praises. All right, so we're going to distribute. All right, now, don't throw it all at once. Here it comes. Where's the soft music at? I need some music. Maestro.